talked about bringing pictures now. You know, it might not be a permanent pictures now because it's based on and maybe that's happy with because we have had a few people that have wanted to bring the baseball game. You probably never, if someone came to go to baseball, they will go still. But it's still be like, no, you do the five base because it's basic. So that can possibly be. Those are the five. The old direction. So last year when you put it in the box, that the other study was good because you saw the so they so remember, you know, I'm going to 50% of that funding. So it could be you know, so you do need then you can apply so usually you can apply for three you can apply for three that are like the you want the three they the place is still is not so great. It's the fence line east and west that is excuse me, north and south, the east side. So there's like none of those. And so that was one thing they said of possibly doing a power upgrade. You spent behind the bleachers that it could go from the south, which is where you can the rodeo around to the north. And even if they wanted to turn that into the east, one thing about the two houses is if you have a sidewalk. So I've had a few people that have called that if they are in a wheelchair or a walker, you don't have a sidewalk that goes from where, so you come in those main on the south. You have that if they want to go over to the restrooms or over to the voluntary monument or again in the rodeo, like the rodeo, they put them together like and so they mentioned about possibly doing a sidewalk that would go from the possibly to the restrooms to go there. Because they really so that would be good. Another one was Jared said a return value for the rodeo because when they're doing the video and have to bring issue make sure So we don't, right, even in the rodeo, we don't, really speak our duty. By the time we, have all the people, we don't. But that would be under our community team, which is the people who are voting. This year's our community team has a 3.2. So we could write the grant, and we haven't come to a concert that, we get Paisley, that's like you say, Brad Paisley. Mike would say Post Malone, I say Jelly Roll. Anyway, we could write a bigger grant for a concert, and that would be under arts and museums that we could do. We could write one to do our veterans program. And we are one of those committees that we're going to start doing. I mentioned we have these volunteer committees, right, on the community arts, whatever it is. So that's just an idea. Yeah, and what I'm really looking at because we really do a branch because we really need a new lot of hydrants that are not enough for hydrants. We need to really be able to water the abuse. We need a good location. Well, I said it's very good with hard pulling and then they can put the cup in there, they drop between the water. The whole some other things we have got with the adapting to the one that so people don't really use it because of the connection. Yeah, in software we use the grass to playground with the building, but for sure with pedestrians, nice activity. They're not good for you, but it was mentioned too possibly that not be the kind of thing that no one can look at. We have two like that we share with us even we so just keep thinking, these were just some suggestions that they would give okay. We would like to call this meeting to order. It is a city council meeting, Hooper City,
October 3rd, 2024, and we welcome all of you for being here. We're going to go ahead and have our opening ceremony. The Pledge of Allegiance will be done by Councilmember Fowers, the reverence by Councilmember Wilcox.
Everybody please stand and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, we humbly come before you this day and give thanks for all the blessings we have and enjoy, for the freedoms we enjoy. We ask a blessing on those who are suffering from the devastating effects of hurricanes and bad weather. Bless them, that they will be restored to their normal life soon. We're grateful for the leaders of our country who try to keep us free and to obey the laws, and we ask that would have a blessing over our community and the citizens here. And these things we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. We would like to excuse Councilmember Northrup, who's out of town and not with us tonight. And also, we're glad to have Brandon Richards here with us. And Reed is also out of town. So just a couple of things on upcoming events. Just a reminder, this coming Wednesday, October the 9th at 7 o'clock. If any of you are interested in coming to hear more about our volunteer committees that we're going to be starting, that is our kickoff meeting for those. If you want any more information, you can call the city or Brian Steckline. It was in the newsletter with his information, or you can reach out to me and I can give you more information on that. And also a week from Saturday is our annual Halloween haunt. That is from 6:30 to 9 o'clock down at Hooper Park, located at 5500 South, 6100 West, and a lot of fun activities. So plan on that. So we're going to start with public comments. Does anyone have a public comment before we get started with our meeting? Okay, seeing no public comments, then we will go on to number 5, consent items. We have a motion for the approval of our minutes from September 5th and also from September 19th. Has everyone had a chance to review those, and is there any corrections or additions?
I had a question on the minutes. It shows our 6 o'clock work meeting as part of our. Will that be now part of our minutes that we're approving? Now, I mean, because they're listed there.
We haven't done that before, and I noticed that also. Do we want those on the minutes, or do you not want those? Should we not have those? We don't need to then. Okay, duly noted. Okay, was there anything else? You had that one correction, didn't you, Del or Debbie?
Yeah, the $2,000 a month instead of, it should be a year.
Under senior lunch.
And was that also on the work meeting?
That was on the work meeting.
Okay. So we will correct that. That is on the September 15th minutes. Okay.
And the only other question I had is we had listed there too that we were going to discuss the fee schedules. Was that for the parks and that?
We were, and we just haven't had all those updated. We've taken those and given them to the individual entities that are going to be reviewing those, and we haven't received those back. So hopefully we will by next time. We were having like, for instance, like Public Works was going through the ones I think I mentioned about, like, if we rented out the trucks, how much we would charge. Anyway, the roads, we've given those out and we just haven't. So, and then, so we'll try to have all that ready so we can review that at our next meeting. Anything else?
Well, I'll I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes dated September 5th, 2024.
Okay, motion was made by Councilmember Maragoni. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second was made by Councilmember Wilcox. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, and then we have the September 15th minutes. Is there anyone that would like to make that motion on those minutes?
Did you see any corrections, Dale? You're
No, I'm just looking.
fiercely looking through there. Before I motion.
Couple pages here. No, they look good.
I'll go ahead and motion for the approval of September 19th, 2024 minutes. I'll second.
So the motion was made by Councilmember Wilcox, seconded by Councilmember Hill. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, so the next thing we have on our agenda is actually a presentation, but I was going to see if someone would want to make a motion. We could move the action item up for the final approval for the Perez subdivision, and we would take care of that first before we go into the presentation.
Is he here? Mr.
He is
Correct?
here.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
So is there someone that would
Sure.
like to make that motion? We move that up now to this
I'll-
point.
I'll make a motion that we move item 8A, the Perez subdivision, ahead of the presentation for the soccer fields. I'll
Okay.
second.
Motion was made by Councilmember Wilcox, seconded by Councilmember Hill. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, so we're going to first hear that. It is a motion for the final approval for the Perez subdivision, and we have a presentation from Malcolm.
Bring in the motion before the council for approval of this Perez subdivision located at 5998 South, 5100 West for Efren Perez. This is a final plat review's been done. It's a one lot in an R1 zone, meets all the requirements in terms of frontage and the square footage in that zone. You can see a site plan here of where the home will be located on a larger parcel, and he's carving off the smaller one, which will, upon approval, be recorded and separated out in their process. You can see here is where the actual site plan for the home will be. Blown up here to give you an idea what it looks like. Primarily, the main consideration was just that the Planning Commission approved this with the condition that these updates were met. These updates were from our city engineer, JUB, along with updates from our Public Works Department, which have been incorporated into the same notes here. They were pretty interrelated. Ultimately, it made 10 updates. We just wanted to highlight and make sure they were reviewed and approved. We met as a city and also with our engineer. And I just wanted to review those items briefly, just for the sake of accounting them. Item 1, owner's dedication must refer to Hooper City in the text. It has been updated. It's been stamped. It's been stamped with, let's see, surveyors. Item 2, surveyor's certificate must be stamped without preliminary. That's been updated as well. Item 3, it has been updated that state there will be no basement due to the restriction here for no basement on the plan. Item 4, it's been removed. The proposed sewer lateral has been removed from the property since there's no sewer there. Item 5, it was requested that the water connection also be removed on the drawing. It's been removed. Proposed secondary water lateral has happened on the plan. We looked in on item 6, the easement Rocky Mountain Power has. There is no easement, and so that consideration wasn't considered, as there's no easement and nothing to consider there. On item 7, we've received an agreement that the larger parcel is willing to waive the requirement for the land use separation fencing, meaning that neither occupants want that fence, and so we're okay with that agreement from the city and Public Works Department. Yeah,
I've got a question. So do we have that written
yeah, we do.
from both parties? Because we've ran into that problem before. We'll
Yeah.
have a written letter from both saying they don't want that land use separation fence.
Yes, Taylor from JUB received that, so
Okay.
yeah, we'll have that in place. Um, 8, they did provide a drainage study and grading and drainage plan as required by the ordinance listed HCC 10-4A. In terms of 9, they did go on the utility exhibit frontage improvements and they met these in terms of the drawings. But the larger consideration was item 10. The city would be recommending that these costs for improvements be escrowed for a later date, should that development take place, just due to the isolation of the lot. And those are held typically for 10 years per the city standards. And so that's been discussed with the applicant as well, based off the city, but that's our recommendation to bring before you. So those were the items discussed in terms of the memo. The key issues here that we have all the approval letters, this is before my time, but from the outside entities have been provided. City staff comments have been adequately addressed and the items listed in the memo from JUB and Public Works have been resolved. So we just bring forward the recommendation for approval to the council.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Malcolm?
Can you go back to the first map? That one right there. So is that plat owned by one ownership or two?
Currently, I'd imagine it's owned by one. It is owned by one per GeoGizmo, but I think that's part of this process, if I understand it correctly. Again, I'm only a 2-month city planner here, but right, to ever subdivide a plat, you have to go through the subdivision process through the city. And then once we approve it, they take it to the county recorder for recording. Otherwise, we get what's known as an illegal subdivided plat, which we don't, like they can't subdivide it without us. So, but it is owned by one. Yeah. We could look up the owner as well if you'd like to see.
That's okay. Thank you.
So that hasn't been done yet.
I don't think it can be done until they've been approved. Yeah, it has to be an approved subdivision. Otherwise, the county, we wouldn't want them to ever, make
Sure.
a subdivision without our approval. Is that correct, Brandon?
Oh, that's right. So I would be surprised if this had been recorded, that's this process. So once we sign the plat, then they can go
Okay.
record it and it'll peel off. Yeah.
Any other questions for Malcolm? Okay, thank you. Okay,
Thank
I
you.
know Mr. Perez is here. Would you like to come up and state your name? And if anybody has any questions for Mr. Perez?
I'm Efraim Perez, 3639 West, 4000 South in West Haven currently, trying to hopefully move out here.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Perez on this?
Maybe a question for Brandon and Mr. Perez. The plat that was shown, there's kind of a curve in the slough there. Right where that blue arrow went through. And there's that dirt mound, the fill material that was brought in there. Or, I don't know, this was a year or so ago, that process. And I don't even know how much fill is down there, but I think there was an agreement that said that they would remove that fill material at some point. And I know the contamination of the slough was a concern because the path to get to that mound was over the top of the slough from 5100 West. Are you aware of any resolve?
I have the current update on if they pulled mounds of dirt back out of it. I do know about history over there with the dirt being there.
Right.
So
I noticed on the notes from the commission meeting that you stated that even though this lot would be approved, this subdivision lot, that there's still an issue with that pile of dirt.
Oh, yeah, so
It doesn't change.
no. So if I can maybe explain a little bit
Okay.
deeper on that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So Councilmember Hill, your question with the dirt, so that dirt still needs to come out. So this particular lot is in full compliance with our city code and it's fine, this little piece we're talking about. The rest of the property, however, we still have an issue with that dirt. Still needs to come out. The city can choose to enforce that any way we want to, regardless of this subdivision approval. And so there are still issues with that dirt that need to be taken care of. And
And-
that exists still. This does not cure that issue, if that's the question.
Maybe
And
no.
have been pulling the dirt, just not all at once, so there was to try to keep, I guess, neighbors
Mhm.
I guess at ease with having a whole bunch of trucks, but we have been taking it out, just not all at once, like how it came in and stuff, but we have been chipping away at it.
So we can stay, I mean, and that would be my recommendation that we do stay on top of that because it has been a concern. So we may want to go in and kind of check on the progress, but this approval does not affect in any way the need to take care of that dirt issue on that other piece.
And it's not, your home won't be in the way of the driveway of getting back to that dirt? I mean,
No,
because there was once a building there, right? And you,
so yeah, there's a building there currently, and that's where I'm putting the home. There was like a shed built there, and I'm taking that down and putting the home there. And then when I first started this, Jared I guess he said if don't landlock the rest of it and leave like 66 foot. So even with my square chopped off, there'll still be a 66-foot access to go still to the rest of the land there. But with the home there, no, there'll still definitely be access to keep taking that out.
How much if estimate needs to come out of there still?
I don't know.
Truckloads, do you think?
Shoot,
Or timeline, what's your timeline to get it resolved?
well, if you, I guess if the neighbors don't really care, or I guess it doesn't matter what they think, then I mean, I can get a hold of a contractor that brought it in, and then I don't know, they could probably get it out there in a couple of weeks, but there's gonna be a lot of traffic, and that's what the neighbors didn't want. And when they was getting brought in, but that's why I've kind of been doing it just slowly, like a few truckloads here and there throughout the like every week. But if it needs to be get out of there like now, I can just have all those trucks come in all at once and get it out of there.
No, I think the way you're doing it now is probably wise. You know, just do a little at a time so it doesn't draw attention to itself, so. And I'm sure you're gonna keep some of it, right?
Well, we're trying to just even out because it was all lumpy all over, so we
Yeah.
were trying to just even it all out. But if it all needs to come out and I just go back to the lumpy mess that I had, then that's fine too. I'm so sick of this.
Okay. So I guess the question is, does the city really even care if it comes out or not? You know, I mean, if it's your property and it's your dirt, whatever, why do we even have any oversight over it?
I think originally it was maybe a concern on how much is gonna end up being in there maybe.
Mhm.
And I have no clue like what it looks like currently and whether the city does care anymore. I think
Right.
the original concern was there's an awful lot of dirt coming in. And so the concern was, okay, wait a minute, what are we doing with this dirt? We don't necessarily have an ability to have a storage of dirt. And that's, we were trying to find a code section that would allow an unlimited amount of dirt to show up. And that was originally the problem, but
Yeah.
if what I'm hearing is some of it's gone, I don't know the current status and whether or not we do care anymore.
well, I think we had the understanding originally too, that you were storing it. I mean, you were getting paid to store, it was a business.
Yeah,
You
you're
were
right,
being
you're right,
stored
you're right.
to-
It was
being
coming from
paid to
some
store this,
school,
and so-
Davis County School District. I think,
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
But I'm not getting paid to store it. You can go to them directly. I'm not getting paid to store it. But I mean, I don't,
But is someone, I mean, is your, that
no,
owns where the dirt is
no, you can.
that property owner, which
Yeah.
I guess is your dad?
Yeah, it's my dad. You can go to the contractor and ask them for all their invoicing or whatever it is that they do, and we're not getting paid for any of that. My dad was just like, oh yeah, I'm not using it. You guys can go ahead, but the helping people is really just screws you over, so I wouldn't recommend it. So, yeah, we're not getting paid. You can go to the
Sure.
district or whoever, but yeah.
So I guess I don't know the answer to that, but I think it probably could be figured out, like
Yeah.
if they want to keep that dirt there and it's no longer, you know, a business or perhaps business, you know, and they want to keep it, maybe we're okay with that because they could use it. You know, and it's not, you know, kicking up dust all over the
Right.
place. I mean, I don't know, but somebody could go check that out. Maybe it's just fine. I have no idea what the status is now. But I don't think, again, the approval of this won't change the status related to the rest of it in any way.
Any other questions for Mr. Perez? Okay, well, thank you. We'll bring the discussion back, then back to city council. Any questions, city council, do you have on this? Any discussion you want to have on this? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I'll go ahead and make a motion for final approval for the Perez subdivision located at 5998 South, 5100 West for Efren Perez.
Okay, the motion was made by Councilmember Maragoni. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second was made by Councilmember Hill. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, thank you. Okay, the next thing we have then on our agenda, we're going to go back. We have a presentation from the UYSA, and we're happy to have Orden Yost with us tonight. So if you want to come up, and we have some slides that you've sent us, and you want to tell us what your plans are, and if you'll just, I already stated his name for him. I guess he doesn't need to, but so Orden Yost. So.
Just click down, go down and up to go up, but just that down button, that'll take you to the down side.
Thank you for inviting us to come and discuss this. I was contacted early this afternoon and asked to come because all the staff from our big company is in St. George. And so I have not seen this before, but we have, but I'm sure that it will cover part of the information that you'd like to have. And if you have any questions before the presentation, I'm happy to address those.
Any questions? Just probably go ahead and do your presentation then, and then
So-
we might have some after
So
that.
basically, at the end of the day, this is going to show that we're representing about 55,000 players in the state of Utah. It's the largest organization of soccer and of any free sport here. And we've been involved for years. I'm a newbie. I've been involved for 48 years. And I help work particularly at this point on what we call Legacy Fields Project. Okay, there I got it. So we're promoting soccer. We feel that there's some great benefits from it. We're a 501c corporation, nonprofit. We're trying to help and develop children in many different ways in our state. And if you want to look at some of these longer, this is kind of the reach out showing the ages. We start at age 3 for academy and go up to age 19 for our final groups of players. Most of our age groups that are functioning with large groups are in that middle 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 age groups. We're 40% young ladies and 60% men. This is an anomaly in our state in regards to the amount of players. You were talking about baseball field earlier. That typically doesn't affect and provide services for the young ladies. One of the reasons that we're heavily involved in soccer. The Legacy Fields project is a major initiative underneath which we're trying to find, purchase, or lease or joint venture with cities or municipalities to establish more fields. Our state's getting bigger. I guess we all know that. You got a lot of growth out here. And we're not building any more fields for that primarily, at least for our group. I just talked about the lack of fields. We're looking to establish and have fields that we can use for long terms.
Could I ask a question right there?
Yeah, please.
So does your organization own soccer fields today? Do you own some fields?
We do own some fields.
Where are some of those?
That's part of one of these slides, but we own
Oh, okay.
fields in
gonna review it.
Cache County. And we have contracts out to own fields potentially in Marriott Slaterville. We have contracts out to own fields in Utah County. And we have fields that will become available, 5 fields in Washington County at the Shibowitz Band of the Paiutes up by what is it? Somewhere up there. But we have 5 fields there that are joint venture with them. Does that give you some information, Mr. Flowers?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. We're talking about how we get the money to fund this site. Each player provides a certain amount of money per year that we've been collecting for many years. And so if we talk to you about wanting to do something, we have money to do it. We're broken up by regions. This region that we're in right here is region number 2. And we have in excess of almost $2.5 million available to spend in this region. We have, again, as I indicated, we have fields in region 1. We're finalizing regions in field in number 3. And we have fields in region 6. Any questions on the breakdown? Locations: Wellsville, Shivowitz, west of Ivans. That's where we have current projects that are being built and are functioning for our players. That's a Wellsville layout. That's 4 fields on a little over 20 acres on Highway 8991. This is the design. We have 5 fields at the Shivowitz property. We broke ground in 21 and we will start playing on those next spring. We can accommodate 450 games per season at that. We have, this does not show it, but all these fields are lit. Proposed projects: Enoch, Harriman. I got 2 more interest this week, so we have opportunities in multiple locations. It's starting to become a little bit better known and aware. We're trying to make differences in our communities, and I've given you a card. And I'm happy to give anyone here a card. You can contact me directly or Utah Youth Soccer. Whatever, the back button? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. What questions do you have for Mr. Yost?
So you talked about joint venture and then you guys just purchased. So you're interested in this property. I'm not sure where we're at. over here. So you intend to purchase it and do all the upgrades and,
We're
What's-
willing, that would be our preference.
okay,
But we're not always able to do that, in this heavy market of, new home building and construction. It cost us approximately $300,000 to build the field. And then we have either road base or asphalt. We have probably a playground area with it, and restrooms with it. And we typically maintain those fields to the specifications that we'd like to see them taken care of and striped and so forth.
so have you contacted the property owner yet?
I don't know, I don't think we've contacted any property owners in this city. Anyone know that we have? Okay,
I guess one question I would have, so it seems like your organization pretty well takes care of everything. So why are you working with like Hooper City to do this? I mean, why?
well,
I mean,
we had an inquiry by Mr. Hill, probably generated by something. We're negotiating right now on some fields in Far West. We're negotiating on some fields right now in Marriott Slaterville. And there was some questions about what we could and would do with our funds. And I understood maybe there was some interest of some helping on these existing fields that you have around your facility here about coming in and improving those and making them better. That's not our typical method of operation. There was some questions, whether it be correct or whether it was just hearsay, but we understood maybe the city was looking to purchase other land that they might want to have developed, and we do that jointly if they wanted us to. Or if there's land in the city that we could purchase, we would be willing to do that.
So you could do this, not that the city wouldn't be, I don't know where we would stand on that right today, but if the land was available, you would step in and purchase it and make all these improvements, and then you would.
We
there you
would
have a
maintain
soccer
it,
field.
yes.
And
You'd
they,
maintain.
and they allow the public to use it when they don't have scheduled games and things going on. You know, obviously they have first priority, but you allow the public to use it on the.
We certainly would if it was a joint venture. If it's owned strictly by the club, we play 2 different seasons during the year, a spring and a fall season. We typically have to let fields because we use grass primarily. We need to have those rest a month or 2. And that's usually the summer and the late winter, November, December, part of January. And so that's kind of what we're looking for. If we're doing a joint venture with the city, then we realize that land belongs to the city. And during our off times, we're happy to have the use of some of the city activities on that. Obviously, we're not looking for polo to be played on that. And not sure about rugby to be played on that, but typical use of grounds similar to what you have being used around here. I mean, we're not looking for a baseball, wouldn't be set up for that. But we have football over here going, we have some soccer going over here that I observed on my way in. Those kind of uses, or a family in the neighborhood who wants to walk over and blow off some fireworks or something like that, if it were within that type of a zone, that certainly would be permissible.
What's on the projects you've joint ventured with, what's kind of the commitment on both sides? Like, what do you expect from the city? And
It has to
commitment?
do somewhat with the length of time that the city or government entity is willing to to give us as an assurance that we can use it. We can only put, we can't just go put 300,000, $500,000 into a project. And then in 5 years, the city council changes and they want to take it back. That could happen, but if it did happen, we would amortize our cost of the facility on a 50-year basis. And the city would need to pay us, or municipality would need to pay us back the amount that hasn't been used or benefited for our players. Does that make sense? So we're looking for, we'd love to see 35 years. Not a lot of people want to give us that much time because things do change. But that's why we've turned out to the process of trying to buy when we can, because they can be held forever, hopefully, for those facilities. But we would be thrilled to, if you're going to buy some other land for some kind of parks that could potentially be multi-use, we'd be willing to look at those and to help. We like cities or municipalities where we work with them to help us with infrastructure so that they have a little vested interest in the overall project in addition to providing the land. But we realize that the land belongs to the city, but we'd like to maintain it, take care of it, water it. Part of the challenge, we had a beautiful site in Syracuse we wanted to do, and the city would allow us to buy it. The problem was we couldn't afford the water. And I don't know what kind of issues that we have in this city with water. But if water is as expensive as land is, that's not an opportunity that works for us. How is your water?
Expensive.
Expensive.
I can tell you on this piece of.
Yeah, when I'm paying 50,000 an acre for land, and it takes me 3 acres to just do one field, and the water's going to be that or double that. That's why there are no fields in Tooele. We can't build golf courses, but I saw 2 beautiful golf courses on my way in tonight, and they seem to be getting lots of water. I don't know who owns them.
Have
But,
you ever looked at artificial turf? I mean, I see an elementary school a mile and a half from here that their whole playground, excuse me, their whole playground, and that's kind of an artificial turf. Have you ever?
Yes, we have. We've priced artificial turf, and it's about 4 to 6 times more expensive than grass.
Grass plus water?
Yeah. I mean, in places that we can afford to buy the land and do the water, yes. If we were going to go to Tooele, we would do that, but we do have downtime in play. However, they're improving artificial turf so that the kind of beads they're using within the grass don't take up as much heat. But we do have a challenge in the summer with turf getting too hot. We play field games in Mesquite, Nevada. And 5 of those fields that we use down there are turf. And we can't play on them in the summertime. Turf is good for up to about 7 to 10 years, and then it has to be redone. So the cost of turf, which we would love to play on, is extremely expensive.
Well, soccer certainly is growing in popularity. We don't see it going anywhere. And there
Well-
is always a lack of soccer fields. So these are used all the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes overused a little bit, that underneath where the soccer goals are, it starts to wear thin. So I certainly think that more soccer fields in Hooper would be a much needed addition to our
Well, we'd love to
community.
do that. We usually design our fields so that they're a little wider not the actual play area, but it's wider, but the available grounds wider, so we can move those soccer goals each season one direction. That helps reduce that wear and tear in that area. And then also when we give it time to rest for a couple of months, that also helps that area.
When you mentioned Mesquite, I know our kids have played down there, but they had soccer tournaments, which there were hundreds, and I don't know if I'd be stretching it to say a few thousand
Yes, so
people
we're,
with players and are these fields that you're talking about, do you ever sponsor those types of tournaments where it would draw those types of crowds? Because then you're looking at parking and those kinds of things, or even places for people to stay, to be able to stay overnight in some kind of hotel or something like that.
well, those tournaments you go to in Mesquite, we're sponsoring. We rent all those fields and sponsor those tournaments down there, same as in St. George. We also have another soccer complex in the north end of Salt Lake County that's called the Rack. We play those tournaments. We bring in national, international teams to play there. We will also play tournaments on the Chivowitz property with 5 fields, along with what we have in Mesquite, will allow us to play tournaments there. Typically, we need to have somewhere around 5 to 10 fields to run a national tournament on and to bring in, but there's likelihood that if we can put some fields here, that if we have maybe 4 more that we will have tournaments on there, but it won't be the size of what you've seen at President's Cup or something of that nature in Mesquite. Because we use all the fields at the major project, which is, I think, 10 fields, and then we use high school, 3, 4, 5 other locations that have multiple fields in that Mesquite area for tournaments there, all at the same time.
Maybe can I make a suggestion? I think it'd be a really positive thing, what I would probably do is reach out to the landowner and see if you can tie it up. So we can further the discussion, and, cause we don't own the property that you're wanting to do this on.
We'd love to be helpful in that process.
But I would talk to the landowner and tell them the city's, fairly positive on it. See if you can tie it up for a time and so we can kind of put something together or something that might work. That's what I would do. Since we don't own it.
Well, there's a possibility that we could though. So the joint venture is
Yeah. We could,
this, the city owning the property and them coming in and developing it and maintaining it for 30+ years in a joint venture. I mean, that's a great thing because eventually the city would take ownership of it. The other side of the coin is they strictly buy it, but the accessibility is limited if they have ownership of it. Because they decide what happens with it, not the city and them. That's strictly them. And so if we could make it happen, the joint venture to me would be a win-win for the city. But there's a benefit to the city by doing it that way. That's why we're in it, is to make a benefit for the city, not for a nonprofit. Right?
And we're not opposed to helping the city. They help us. You have about 300 players in your city based on zip code information. You have within 5 to 10 miles, you have over 3,000 players who are playing Utah youth soccer. Just to give you an idea of the amount of people that are involved right here locally. And what happens is that your local teams invite other teams to come and play here, which which should bring in an economic value to your city. So there are some really benefits that way, depending on the amount of services that you have in your city. Because they'll stop at every service station, every place to eat food, because that's what we do when we take kids home. We don't worry about what the game score was. We want to know what they want to eat.
That's what we wish we had.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We wish we
Yeah, we
had
don't
one
have
right on the
services.
corner that they all could stop at on the
Yeah.
way out and spend their money, but we do not. We have one store. Anyway,
any other weird questions that you might have or wonder, all your questions have been wonderful and I don't think they're any, but if you're having some question, but you don't want to ask it because you think it's a little off key, would suggest that you ask it. I'm happy to answer them.
Would say I have 5 boys and every one of them will play or do play UYSA. And so we're always going, West Jordan Soccer Complex or all over but it would be awesome to have more fields up north.
Yeah. It would be.
I would say that.
That's what we're working on.
And it is true after the game, all, my kids would always say, after they won, can we go get a treat and then, and to celebrate the win. And then if they lost, can we go get that same treat to, console us? So there is, that side of it. So.
So we've had quite a few studies done over the years. And we do find that there is an economic value to having soccer fields in your area. And so that's one of the benefits to a city doing a joint venture with us or leasing us the land or whatever you might want to do. But just remember, if we're going to put that kind of money into a field, we need the guaranteed use of it for a reasonable period of time. Because we can't take the kids' money and buy something and build a field and lose it in 3 years.
how many acres how many acres, for example, would require for 4 soccer fields?
A little over 20.
Okay.
And that's including parking.
Parking.
And we're looking for a place that we can get sewer to. We need restrooms. I heard conversations about places that you don't have restrooms, people don't like to go to. We have to have restrooms and sometimes we might start with porta potties initially as we're developing a site. But so we need sewer. We need water, culinary and second. We need those opportunities to have those. We don't need to be 10 or 15 miles or 1,000 feet away from something where it's going to have to be dug and brought in. We need to have those capabilities to do that. And when we marry with this municipality, then sometimes those can be brought in a lot cheaper by the municipality than they can by going hiring someone to do it.
You ever put lights up? I mean, is your plans so they can play late into the evening? Do you do that?
We play 5 o'clock till 9 o'clock on Monday through Friday. We play 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock on Saturdays. That's our typical schedule. We play from we play from February to May, and then we play from August to October. Those are our typical time frame. Then if we have tournaments on one, as you asked, then we would do that during the other times of the year, in the summer or potentially in fall.
Thanks for coming. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Any
It's
other
my
questions?
pleasure.
For Mr.
And
Yost?
may I commend you on what you're doing around your facility? Gets a lot of people activated, keeps all the graffiti off all the houses and the walls. and everything. I mean, if we can invest children in something good to do, they're not doing something else. So we recommend and commend you for what you're doing in regards to that. Thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your time, and he has my card and Mr. Hill has my card. And I'd be happy to respond to any questions. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks
thank
a
you.
lot.
Okay, the next thing on our agenda is public comments. Does anyone have any public comments to make this evening? Okay, if not, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Well, second.
Okay, motion was made by Councilmember Flowers, seconded by Councilmember Hill. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion to adjourn has been approved.